some better translations of the name that made it make sense to make it like really good. So here's in order from all the sons. Behold a son, one who hears my heart. Give thanks to Yah. He judges my struggle. Good fortune, blessing, reward, honor. Add to my family, son of my right hand. Now that's pretty prophetic. Like just the naming of the son is a picture of the Messiah. It's a picture of us coming back. I mean, it's a pretty.
So is Levi my heart?
Huh? Levi.
This is spelled wrong.
Oh yeah, heart. Yeah.
That's my rabbit.
Listen, he's just as good at spelling as Randy.
Yeah.
At least when you misspell it, Johnny, they think I wrote it.
But anyway, all right. The board. I got a picture of it. I think I can send it out.
Oh, okay. Send it out on Signal. Oh, okay.
Okay, let's do a blessing.
And then if you use what Raquel wanted to name him, now instead of son of my right hand, be son of my suffering, and he did suffer. So if you're thinking about the Messiah, you know, Yeshua, he suffered.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Okay. Let's get down to chapter 32, verse 4. Okay.
Check. Check one, 2.
Okay,
Sounds
chapter
good to me.
32, verse 4. Go. Who's reading? You reading?
I am.
Oh,
I want to get y'all caught up. If y'all haven't read Yasher this week.
All right. And he commanded them, saying, Say this to my master Esau, your servant Jacob, said this, I have sojourned with Laban and strived there until now. And I have, now this part's interesting because I looked this up. He doesn't say I have bulls, donkeys, and all that. They're all plural. So he says, I have bull, and I have donkey, I have a flock, like he just says lamb, like he's not saying like multiple on any of these. He's saying singular. I have servant. I have, just one. So for every single one of these, they came up to be not plural, but singular. So, but every translation I found, it has them all as, multiple, because I guess when you're writing stuff and you know that they have a bunch, but he's really trying to be humble. He's like, go tell my master, that his servant, has been striving with Laban and I'm coming back. But the reason he's going to tell Esau, from according to Jasher, is after Laban and Yaakov parted ways, built the rock, you're not allowed in my territory, I'm not allowed in yours. Laban went straight to Esau and was like, let me tell you everything your brother did against me. And they came, he stole my daughters, he stole all my flocks, he stole my idols, and it enraged Esau because he thought about all the things that he stole from him. And that's why earlier I wanted you to look up the weeping, because when we see it later, it has 6 dots above it. And I didn't hear any rabbis say this, but I did hear a Messianic Torah teacher think an idea that he had is that those 6 dots may represent the blessings that Jacob took from him. Because what all did he take? He took the love of his mother first. He took his birthright. He took his blessing. He took the land of Israel from him. Like Esau gets kicked out of the land because his herdsmen are quarreling with everybody in Canaan, and he's kicked out. And he also took Leah, his wife. I mean, Leah was meant for him. It says in Asher when she was born that she was meant to be Esau's wife, and he was going to get Rachel the youngest. So, what? Okay, so, but anyway, so I think that, you know, those little dots possibly could represent like the bitterness. Like they were hugging and weeping, but it wasn't from, you know, like there was still the resentment that Esau had against him for all the blessings he took. I think a part of Jacob, though, it's probably a little bit of his resentment too, thinking, you know, I did have to take these in a way that I wish I could have done differently, because we are still brothers, like, you know, so there's probably a part of it there, like, he could have done it different. He could have trusted the Father to fulfill it in different ways and not taken it the way he did, even though we know it worked out that way for a reason. If you read some of the other books, Abraham, like, wanted it to happen this way, but anyway. Where am I? All right, I see. Verse 5, and I have sent to inform my master to find favor in your eyes. So the messenger returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, 400 men with him. And Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him and the flocks and herds and camels into 2 groups. And he said, if Esau comes to the one group and strikes them, then the other group which is left shall escape. And Jacob said, O Elohim, my father of Abraham. So before I start reading this prayer that he gives to the Father, like, we're supposed to walk in like love and, you know, and faith that the Father's going to do with us as he plans. And, you know, and you instantly, like, his brothers come and you see fear, but he knows, like, that he's got the inheritance, the birthright. Like, he already knows that his people will become a multiple people. So the fact that he's so scared of his brother that he's going to lose everything in this encounter is surprising. You know, I mean, like, but I think that's the lesson we're supposed to learn from this. Like, yeah, like, we all are human, but at what point do we realize, like, our Father is totally in control? I can trust him with my life no matter what. Like, I think that's the point of this, really, because it happens over and over to Jacob in this point where he feels like he's going to lose, and the Father keeps trying to reassure him, like, I got you. Like, do you not see that, like, I'm going to make you a great people? Nothing can stop me, so nothing can stop you, and that's how we should feel. But you're right, he's human. And
the word messengers is angels, Malachim. And so Kumash translated actually as angels. Yeah. Jacob sent angels to Esau to see Esau. And it is kind of interesting, whether we agree or disagree, you know, sometimes if you just think about the wording and what it means and how the symbolism, because there's usually some kind of a spiritual symbolism we can see. And so Jacob comes to the brook. He splits his 2 kingdoms. He divides his tribes into two different tribes. So was Israel destined to be split after King Solomon? So is this right here telling us that it's going to be split sometime in the future?
There you go. That's a good point.
Jacob's going to divide us.
Also, correlate how they went out to how they would go out to war, too. From the way the tribes were arranged, it was always the Leah's first, and then it would hand off. So it's also a picture of going out to war, because they would go out that way, too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, going down.
And Jacob said, O Elohim, my father Abraham, and Elohim of my father Yitzhak, Yah, who said to me, return to your land and to your relatives, and I do good to you. I do not deserve the least of all the loving commitment and all the truth which you have shown your servant For I passed over the Jordan with my staff, and now I have become 2 groups. So, like, he was supposed to go over the Jordan to get his bride with all the riches that his father sent him with, but Esau's son came and stole it from him. So he said, like right here, he's saying, all I passed over with the Jordan was with my staff. And it's also said that he kept anointing oil hidden away in the top of his staff, but that's all he passed over the Jordan with. And it says, you deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and shall strike me and the mother of my children. For you said, I shall certainly do good to you, and shall make your seed as the sands of the sea, which are too numerous to count. So he knows the blessing that's coming, and he's praying to the Father, like, I know you're going to do this for me, so, like, why is he fearful is the question I have. But Randy's right. So now if you read Jasher, it tells you a little story, a little different. Like, not only does Jacob send his messengers to him with gifts and with the account, but the Father, right after he prays this prayer, it says the Father hears him from heaven and sends 4 angels. Each of them go one by one. They disguise themselves as a group of 500 militant men, like an army never seen before, and they go to Esau. When they see Esau, they rush him and they run around him with swords drawn or whatever they have. It's like, I mean, it describes their weapons as like nothing has never been seen before. And they run around him, and he gets so scared, he falls off his horse, and all of his men, 400 men, run away. And the angels say, like, we are the servants of Jacob, and who are you? Like, you're heading in his direction. If you don't tell us who we are, we will kill you on the sake of the protection of Jacob. And he's like, oh, please don't kill me. I'm his servant, his brother Esau. And they said, well, since you're his brother, we're going to let you go. And that happens to him 4 times from these angels. They rush him. And I think it proves it in a minute that those are the servants, like Randy was talking about, these angels that they said. But Jacob didn't know that in Yasher. And he does send servants too to go and like give gifts and blessings and stuff. But these servants terrify Esau. When the 4th one left.
Why does he say, with this staff I'll cross Jordan?
Yeah, I wonder about that too.
Why does he say, with this staff I'll cross Jordan? And then,
What's significant about the staff, I wonder?
I don't know.
Let's research it.
What was the 3 things given to Judah give to Tamar? The staff, the signet, and cord. Prophet, priest, and king. A staff is authority. The Father. A staff. Okay, so the Torah, all through the Psalms and the Proverbs, the law is referred to in the feminine, the law of your mother, but the rod of your father. So the father is a staff, is the rod of your father, is more masculine. It's authority. So with authority, he's crossing this Jordan, and Joshua brings him across the Jordan when he comes into the promised land. Are we going to do it in a reverse pattern? No. Remember, there's this pattern, and then there's a reverse pattern. Because when we come back into the land, he says, I will remember the covenant I made with Jacob, with Isaac, and with Abraham. So he divides his team, his household, and he crosses Jordan. But before we come back in, they're put back together. We got the 2 sticks got to be tied together sometime. And so they're going to be brought back together, and then Yeshua is going to be like Joshua crossing over the Jordan the next time, just in reverse pattern. Because immediately he wrestles with the angel here. So we got the same story. We got Yeshua. We got this angel he's going to be wrestling with. When we get to there, we got something really cool to talk about too. Go ahead, Johnny. Read on down.
All right. 13. And he spent the night there and took what came to his hand as a present for Esau, his brother, 200 female goats, 20 goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 suckling camels and their colts, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 fowl. And he gave into the hand of his servants every drove by itself, and said to his servant, pass over before me, and put some distance between drove and drove. So, like, this is like giving a huge inheritance that will go on for years to come. I mean, this is right. I mean, this is giving you everything you'll ever need, be wealthy and rich, and this is probably most of what he had. He's given away.
Is there a phrase here? Reish, Kaf, 220, 220, 30, 40, 10, 20, and 10. All those numbers. I don't have in there, or it doesn't say about, it says the camels, 30 nursing camels and their coats. So is that a double 30? Is that 30 plus 30? Each one of them only have 1 coat? Yeah. I don't know. That's the only one it doesn't mention a number on. But is there a phrase there? Is there something we're trying to, when you put all those numbers together, this would be another 30 right here, if that's the case. Anyway, I don't know. Something to think about. Okay, going down.
17. And he commanded the first one, saying, when Esau my brother meets you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong? And where are you going? And whose are these in front of you? Then you shall say, they are your servant Jacob's. It is a present sent by my master Esau, and see, he also is behind us. So he commanded the second and the third, and all who followed him the drove, saying, speak to Esau the same words when you find him, and you shall say, also look, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, let me appease him with the presence that goes before me, and after that see his face, he might accept me. And the present passed over before him, but he himself spent the night in the camp. He rose up that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford of Jacob. Mine says ford. Did y'all say that? What did he pass over?
The ford of Yabok.
The ford? Okay. Yabok. Okay, the ford. But notice, like, who's missing from his family?
Hold on. The Yabok, the Jordan runs right here. He's over in here somewhere. It runs into the Jordan. Yeah. But there's also another one that Elijah, remember, Elijah was on that side too, but it was a little bit down. It was this one's called the ford of Yabok, and Elisha's was, yeah, it was a different one. But they're both in the Jordan area. They're on that side of the river. And the angels fed, Elijah was fed by the ravens on that side. But also, there's another one just right up from Jericho, right in this area, right in here somewhere. It's 20 miles north of Jericho. There's another ford that runs in, another creek that runs into it. And that's the one when Joshua crossed over into the promised land, there was an earthquake. It literally blocked that off, and the river was blacked up for 20 miles up creek until it finally, till the waters came back, and that's when they crossed over in. And so that was kind of interesting. But it goes up to one, there's like 3 different creeks that come into that has specific names in Scripture. Yabok, and I can't remember one with Elijah. I should know that. It has so he's right at the Yabok where it crosses into the Jordan River. So he's kind of like you got this river, this creek running into the Jordan River, because he already put the others across the Jordan. And now him and his wife, they're over here behind on the east side of this creek, and now he's going to wrestle with somebody. Go ahead.
Well, first, like, who's missing from his family? It says he took his 2 wives, his 2 handmaids, and his 11 sons. Who's missing?
You know, something else we're missing here. He's got servants. You know, we see Jacob coming back from Laban with just him and his kids and his family, but no, he's got servants.
Yeah, he has lots of servants. It says he bought lots last week, that he had enough money to buy.
He had servants that literally taking care of his flocks for him.
Yeah.
When he's
so according to Yashua, he was sending his servants as messengers to his brother, but the father had sent other messengers to his brother to terrify him. But he did have servants he was sending before him, and he broke them up into groups to go before him. So yeah, he definitely did. But you're right, it was Dinah. So Dinah's missing from this. So, but Yashur says that he was afraid that Esau would see how beautiful she was and want her for himself. So he hid her away in a trunk as he passed by Esau, and he hid her away. So it's like another instance of him not trusting the father. And all the rabbis say he would have, like, Dinah was such a light. She was so good at being, like, going out to people and teaching them. And you even see in the next, like, in this later on, like, the moment she gets to Shechem, she wants to go out and see what the other girls are doing and start, tell them about, the father and, the Elohim that they worship. Like, that was her desire before Shechem took her. But so he hid her away. And
okay, look at it from a different angle. Look at Dinah. So Leah has 6 sons and a daughter. 6 sons are masculine, daughter female. 6 days of the week are masculine. The Sabbath is always feminine. And so Leah had 6 children, 7 children, in 7 years, and we weren't here last week, but I've always believed that Zebulun and Dinah were actually twins because it says she conceived and bore Reuben, conceived and bore Simeon, conceived and bore Levi, conceived and bore Judah, conceived and bore Issachar, conceived and bore Zebulun and bore Dinah. And I didn't know this, but the book of Jubilees says the same thing. I've been teaching that for years, and I was reading here about 3 months ago, and the book of Jubilees says that Zebulun and Dinah were twins. But here's the important thing. Again, okay, so you guys remember every time we come to 7 in Scripture is divided into 5 and 2, right? I'm going to show you after a while that's not true. It's 5 and 2 unless it's non-Israeli, and then it's 4 and 3. I found something really cool at the end of this parsha. But here's 5, and then the last 2. They were twins, so there's the 2. And it says Friday is preparation for the Sabbath, right? So Dinah, or Zebulun, is preparation for Dinah, and then Dinah's born. So, now what you're saying, whether we agree or disagree, it's an interesting concept because it's like saying Jacob is hiding the Sabbath from Esau. And that's exactly what Esau is. I mean, if Esau is, we look at Asherah, Esau is Sunday worship. That's where we'll talk about that when we get here in a minute. Esau is Rome, and Catholicism is Rome. And so we'll talk more about that here in just a minute. But in that concept, Dinah is a Sabbath. So I'm not saying I agree with the story in Joshua, but I am saying there's a spiritual perspective that we're overlooking, is that Dinah is hid from Esau regardless because she's the Sabbath. And Esau don't keep the Sabbath. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. I'll show you why I'm saying that. Let's read on down.
Well, hold on, I wasn't finished.
Wrestling with the angel, because I'm going to show you something really cool about the angel from a different perspective.
Well, I'm going to give you the rabbi's perspective of why, though. That's what I was trying to tell you. So the rabbis all say that this is true, the story is true, and that Dinah was hidden away because she was such a light. But if Yaakov would have allowed his brother Esau to take her, that she was such a bright light for the father that she would have changed him. And if he would have just, this is another instance of Yaakov not trusting everything, you know, that the father is going to go make a great people. But this also could have been like a life-changing moment for his brother. And she would have caused him to do teshuvah. Like, that's what she was known for. Like an amazing light that caused people to do teshuvah. So anyway, I just think it's interesting. But, I mean, it goes into like what you're saying. Like, they've hidden it from us. And we can't do
and
teshuvah
the Sabbath does
without
change
it.
everything.
Right.
The Sabbath is the light that comes out that changes everything.
Yeah, we can't repent.
So I'm saying
until
it's a spiritual concept that can be applied physically between the two brothers.
How is Sabbath hidden from Esau? He's Isaac's son.
Christianity.
No. I mean, he was raised in a house.
I know.
But he never kept it. It just said he never kept it. Like over and over, it said.
We're not talking about how they're raised. We're just talking spiritually in our day and time, how Esau is Rome and Catholicism come out of Rome.
I'm talking about back in that.
Then, right.
It, over and over would just say that, you know, Yaakov loved the ways of the Torah and loved to study with Shem, and Esau.
I understand that. But where does it say that Esau didn't keep the Sabbath? Because I'm going to tell you what I see about Esau. He is an earthly-minded man.
Yep.
There's a difference between an anti-Christ experience, which says I'm going against the plan of God, and just the earthly people. And that is what Saul was, an earthly man. So I think Esau was very much an earthly man. He didn't please God because he didn't see the kingdom of God. He didn't see the plan of God. Esau was just a man who just wanted to get rich and feel good and everything's all good.
Yeah.
So, but his family taught him the Sabbath. So that's what I'm saying. You can't say that the Sabbath was hidden from him because he knew it. It just didn't mean anything to him.
He's just saying Dinah was hid. I'm the one that's comparing Dinah to the Sabbath. And I'm saying a spiritual, and I'm not even agreeing. I'm just saying that it's a spiritual concept that in a way Esau was. And when we get to the 400, then we'll talk more about what we did earlier. Let's go on down, and where you at? We got to read about the angels.
Question.
That's the really good part. We are on verse 23.
All right.
No, 25.
No.
We crossed the ford of Jabbok.
Oh yeah, that's where we stopped. 23. And he took them and sent them over the stream and sent over what he had. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking day. And when he saw that he did not overcome him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was dislocated, and he wrestled with him. And he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." But he said, "I am not letting you go until you have blessed me." So he asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name is no longer called Jacob, but Yisrael, because you have striven with Elohim and with men, and have overcome." And Jacob asked him, saying, "Please let me know your name." And he said, "Why do you ask about my name?" And he blessed him there. So
Go ahead and finish the chapter.
Huh?
Go ahead and finish the chapter.
Oh, you need commentary?
Just
All
go
right.
ahead.
And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. And the sun rose on him, and he passed over Peniel, and he limped on his hip. And this is why the children of Israel to this day do not eat the sinew of the hip, which is on the socket of the thigh, because he touched the socket of the thigh of Jacob and the sinews of his hip.
Okay. The rabbis say that this is Esau's angel. Do y'all agree? Who do you think he's wrestling with? I think he's wrestling with Yeshua. That's always been my theory. But the rabbis say it's Esau's angel. Now, here's what's really cool. But wait a minute, though. They're right and they're wrong. Now, think about what I'm saying. Esau is Rome, okay? Now, the reason, sometimes we look, we got a chip on our shoulder, and if we get rid of the chip and just say, okay, what are they actually saying? Is there a lesson here I can get from this? Even if I disagree with them, is there a lesson? And with Rome being Esau, it's got a boot heel. Jacob grabs the boot heel. We've already talked about that. So out of Esau came Catholicism, right? Okay, so Esau comes to meet Jacob with 400 men. The story I was telling you this morning about Elijah on Mount Carmel, there were 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah, the Asherah pole, the Christmas tree. And Asherah, there were 400, and Esau comes to meet Jacob with 400, Asherah, coming from Rome. So the spiritual concept, what I'm trying to say, is that that's Catholicism. They don't keep the Sabbath. That's a whole different faith. So from the rabbinic point of view, that was Esau's angel. And why? Because Catholicism says they believe in Jesus, right? But they don't. They don't even know who Jesus really is, Yeshua. So just like Joseph, when he was in Egypt, looked like an Egyptian, Yeshua looks like a Greek god or whatever to Judaism today. So it's the same concept. So in Judaism, Jacob is wrestling Esau's God, Esau's angel. They're right in a way, except Esau doesn't know who his angel is. And I'm talking from a spiritual level. I'm saying that is Yeshua, but to Judaism, it looks like an Egyptian. It looks like Esau's God. You see what I'm saying? Is that making any sense? I'm talking on a spiritual level. I'm not talking about a physical level.
Yeah, because it says it says he named his name Yisrael, and you have striven with Elohim and men and have overcome. And we're all personally having this internal struggle of who is the Messiah? What is his name like? Are you Elohim? Are you man? Like there's this internal struggle in all of us, and we're having to figure out through study and learning like of who he is, how does he fit into place, and how we're going to recognize him when he comes. And we all have to struggle with that. Like it's a battle we all have of are you the Father? Are you the one and only Elohim? Are you the one sent from the Father? What is your name? What is it? Or is your name the same as the Father? So like there's a lot of questions that we all struggle with, that this is a picture of that struggle.
Okay, now watch this. So Judaism, there's a serious problem they have. They say all of Israel has a share in the world to come. So these rabbis have taught that over the years, so therefore Judaism says, well, Jews all go to heaven. They all get paradise. That's not what that verse says. All of Israel has a share in the world to come, but not all of Jacob. And Jacob doesn't become Israel until he wrestles with the angel. So, and I'm not judging anybody, but I'm saying if we put things in context, we have to be careful with the phrases, Jews don't believe in hell because all Jews are going to paradise. I mean, that's not you understand what I'm saying? So, we don't become Israel till we wrestle with the angel. Once we wrestle with the angel, then we become Israel. And all of Israel is saved. They all have a place in the world to come.
So, when the rabbi said that Esau's angel, they're actually disputing what the scripture said, because the scripture says you have striven with God and man. Scripture tells you who is spoken. It tells you itself.
But and I'm not arguing against you, but I could make the argument that said, but every nation has an Elohim over it. Not the true El, but there was an Elohim over every nation, every nation. I'm just saying. Okay, but let's look at something else. So Jacob's hip is knocked out of socket, right? So now we're talking about Halakha. Now, the rabbis just came out 3 years ago and said it's Halakha for you to take that shot. And we all know that was BS. So they had all of their people forced, Orthodox, okay, so now let's talk about kosher for a minute. Kosher, Orthodox Union, about a month ago or 2 months ago, certified lab-grown meat as kosher. The Orthodox Union, I agree 100%. I don't want to eat it. I ain't eating it if I know it. So when people are arguing about kosher, my argument is, but you look at this. I mean, really, let's get real here. But at the same time, let's look at it from a different perspective. Kosher has preserved ritual slaughter. So when the sacrifices start, we've got all these people that are trained, that are ready to go in a moment's notice. So kosher is a good deal, but I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm saying the rabbis, by forcing their people to do kosher all these years, they have trained people that are ritual slaughter. So when the sacrifices start, all these people that have been killing these kosher animals for thousands of years, they're ready to go. They know how to do the sacrificial system at the temple. So instead of looking at it like, people say, well, do I have to go kosher? I have to not go kosher. It don't matter. That's not the point. We don't judge you for not going kosher. We eat biblically clean, but not kosher. But kosher has preserved ritual slaughter. So I'm saying there's always a different perspective. We can look at something and see from a different angle. Now, I'm not going kosher because, like I said, with just recently, the Orthodox Union, this whole lab-grown meat thing, that's not kosher. I don't care what anybody says. That's sick and disgusting. No, I'm saying...
No, I'm asking, are they saying, would that be an acceptable...
No.
If you have a lab-grown animal or a cloned animal, are they going to offer that?
No, they're saying you can eat it. They're not talking about temple sacrifices.
But I'm just wondering.
Yeah. No, they're not. They're not talking about... Yeah. So, but again, Halakha. So when Jacob wrestles with the angel, his Halakha is knocked out of a socket. That's important. That's what we walk on, our hip. So it wasn't his hands. Okay, when the New Testament, Peter draws a sword, cut off the Sagan, the deputy Kohen Gadol cuts off his right ear. The right ear is anointed so they can hear God. He's saying, you didn't hear God, but he didn't cut off his hands or his feet or thumb or toe. But here, Jacob's limp is literally in his Halakha, in his walk. So that's important to understand because it's telling us that, both sides have got a lot of, he's got to straighten us up. We've got a lot of things that they're calling Halakha that are not Halakha. It is not Halakha to take a shot that's going to kill us. It could kill us. There's no proof that, anyway, you see what I'm saying?
Well, for even a group to say that when they write things in the Tanakh or that it's equal to the scripture.
Right.
And they will say that. Yeah, the Talmud.
Not all of them, but some of them, yes, you're right. And so, but here's the deal. None of Judaism follows everything anyways except the ultra-Orthodox. Modern Orthodox, they read it, but they don't follow it all. They stick pretty much strict to what Scripture says. But I am saying that there's spiritual aspects here, especially in this right here. The angel knocks hip out. There's something, when Messiah returns, their Holocaust is going to be all messed up. He's going to straighten them out and say, you know, this is what true Holocaust is, and you got to follow this.
You have the Messianic kingdom, because we're all going to be taught correctly at that point.
Exactly.
We've got 1,000 years of being taught correctly.
Exactly.
None of us have got this right, and it won't be until he.
But now let me ask you a question. Are we willing to, when Messiah sits on the throne, accept that we're wrong at? Because I guarantee you there's a lot of places I don't know I'm wrong on. Well, a lot of people aren't, though. A lot of people are like, no, I know I'm doing it right. No, you don't.
That's a lot of
Okay. So Jacob is wrestling an angel. I think it's Yeshua. The rabbis think it's Esau's angel, but they think that they're blinded by the whole ideal. So in a way, technically they are right, and they're wrong. And so I look at it more of a spiritual thing. But I do think the whole Asherah thing, the 400 coming with Esau, and the whole Asherah thing at Mount Carmel is not a coincidence. And then Catholicism has a Christmas tree. I mean, come on, let's get real. And the Asherah tree is.
So Esau's descendants became the Romans or the Italians?
I think so. I think so. They think they became the Romans.
What Constantine was. But I mean, Christianity was a merging of all of this, with the exceptions of they didn't let the Jews in.
Right.
Let's make
They
that.
let everybody else in, and they took their tradition,
Exactly.
but not the Jews. Yeah.
But it's right there in that story.
32. Have we got 32 yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Did we finish that chapter?
Oh, okay. So 32 in my Bible says, therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh and the sinew that shrank. So that wording says this is what they do. It doesn't say.
He said they're forbidden.
This one says.
They shall not eat it.
Yeah, this one says, therefore the children of Israel are not to eat the displaced sinew. And so we were wondering if you were able to tell from the Hebrew what it actually can.
No, I don't. I can't. I'm not saying others can't, but I can't. But I will say this. I will say this is that, hold on, I lost that thought just for a second. Part of the priestly portion, the right thigh that you give to the priesthood, that's got the sinew in it. And they're going to say, the rabbis argue, because I've read this before, they say, well, but the priest knew to pull the sinew out. I don't know. The right portion, you've seen the Hebrew National hot dog thing. Shows the cow.
We've had this discussion before. I just wondered if you could tell.
No, I can't from the Hebrew. But
We've talked about the pulling out the sinew.
yeah. But I can say that through that whole Hebrew National thing, you see the back of the cow, you don't have that's part of the priestly portion that's given over to the Kohanim. So when you say you're not to eat it, I'm like, no, wait a minute though. That is a priestly portion. So in a way, by them not eating it, it's like they're not eating the priestly portion until Messiah returns. And so again, whether we agree or disagree,
We're told that we are a priestly nation,
so they're not eating, well,
that we can eat it. I don't know.
no, in their perspective, no, that was strictly for the Kohanim. And so therefore they wouldn't, and without a sacrificial system,
Here though, okay, so the question was, is it a commandment? If I'm going
I can't say it
strictly
is.
by English or the way that language is, when it says therefore, it is giving you a description, not a commandment. Because it says therefore they don't do this.
But it's just a sciatic
Okay.
nerve that you shouldn't eat.
I see in the Hebrew translation
But hold on.
it says they are not to.
Hold on.
So
Where in Scripture does it tell us not to count people? But yet David was punished, and thousands of Israelis died for it, and it does not tell us that. All it says is that when you take a census, people throw in a half shekel, that there be no plague among them, and that's all it says. So it does not tell us not to count people, but yet David did count them, and thousands of people dropped dead because of that. So I can't answer that. I can't judge you for not doing it, but I can't answer that because when you go out and you buy any kind of meat whatsoever here. If it's not kosher, it's going to have all that in it, you know. So, and I'm not telling you not to eat that, because, again, I think, I don't know. I think the only blessing in Israel is you don't have to worry about it. When you're in Israel, all the kosher restaurants, you don't have to worry about it. Whatever you buy has already been prepared, but the prices are twice as high because of that. Especially meat. Meat is outrageous over there.
I want to back up to the cheeseburger again.
Who was?
When Abraham served curds and meat, okay, I want to back up.
You want to go talk about milk and meat?
Okay, I want to back up further.
Okay.
Okay, if that is so wrong that, you know, you're not supposed to eat milk and meat at the same time, why would Hashem allow him to sit right there in front of him and sin?
Well, the argument is going to be that they give the angels milk, and it took 3 hours to prepare the meat. I'm just saying they're going to be their argument. I'm not for or against. I'm just telling you what the argument is.
There's also a belief that you can eat milk and then eat meat directly after, but you can't eat milk directly after meat without a waiting in between. And actually, the way that they talk about it is that the time period is to what's it called? Give honor to like the thing that you took death inside of you, basically. And so you're giving honor to that and waiting like the 3 hour is pretty normal standard or whatever. And
That's more ultra
one of my
orthodox.
friends, he actually says the reason why they do it for 3 hour wait is like Yeshua rising from the grave. So he points it back to Yeshua, but the waiting in between the meat is waiting between death and life. So it's just adding a spiritual aspect to the Torah. Instead of just taking it for the letter, it's adding the spiritual.
But how could they bring Yeshua into that when they don't even believe?
Well, he's a Messianic.
No, she's talking about a Messianic.
This is how we get really religious.
Well, if you're doing it without burdening other people and it blesses you spiritually, I have no problem with it. But you're right. I think if there was ever a time when the Father would clear that up, that would have been it. Abraham.
Okay, now I'm going to really challenge you. Is there 2 different laws? Now I'm going to really challenge you. Is there 2 different laws? One for on the road and one for in the land? But, okay, so one of the...
The whole thing, the scripture with meat and milk, it doesn't talk about, not boiling a kid in its mother's milk. It never says further that don't eat it this way. It never does.
I know you can't milk a chicken.
To me, we're missing the point. The point was like the baby birds. The point is kindness. You're not to be that kind of person.
So one of the rabbis pointed out, and Ramban, and this is one that actually I like his stuff, but this was kind of wishy-washy, but it's kind of interesting. He said the reason that Rachel died when giving birth to Benjamin was because Jacob couldn't take a sister. According to Torah, he couldn't take a woman and her sister. And so therefore, when they came in the land, she had to die before. And I disagree, but she died because Jacob made told her, said, if they find any, let them be put to death. So, but he takes this and he says, on the road, it was okay for Jacob to have the 2 sisters, but when they came in the land, it's a different situation. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting. Kind of cool. Okay. Don't you like it when you have debates and you can't get an answer one way or the other because it's been going on for 1,000 years? Okay. And the best part is we can agree to disagree. All right, let's go to chapter 33. Who wants to read? Okay, are you going to be as argumentative as Johnny was? His chapter we argued constantly.
That's just up to y'all.
Oh. Okay, go.
All right, 23. No, 33. Sorry. It just sat there and let me do it. Jacob raised his eyes and saw, behold, Esau was coming, and with him were 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 handmaids. He put the handmaids and their children first, Leah and her children next, Rachel and Joseph last. Then he himself went on ahead of them and bowed earthward 7 times until he reached his brother.
And stop. We wrestled with the angel. Now Esau's coming. After we wrestled with the angel, Esau's coming. And he bows 7 times. 7 times. Remember when Esau's coming with who? 400. Okay, so Elijah's on Mount Carmel. After they put the prophets of Baal to death, Elijah prays 7 times and it starts to rain. So we got almost the same pattern because Asherah is involved in that. Esau bringing Asherah, and Eliyahu had Asherah on the mountain. And the funny thing about that was Asherah wasn't put to death, only Baal, only the prophets of Baal. Now, one more thing. So Yeshua's on the cross. One of our elders years ago did a lesson. We got Yeshua and 2 others. And one of those others kind of like repented at the very last. And so he was comparing this to Saturday, Sunday, and Friday, a holy day on each side of the Sabbath. And the way he did it was really cool. And I never thought about that, but one of them repented. Now, Asherah isn't put to death, but the prophets of Baal are. Is there a pattern to that? Am I speculating? I don't know. Do you have a question?
Well, I also see the same thing in Joseph. When the 10 brothers go to Joseph, they bow before him 10 times. They give him a kiss. Like, this is that story too. So if you go compare this story to that story,
Did he bow 7 times?
yeah, you'll see a lot of correlation.
But the 7 times is what gets me. Like, no, wait a minute. Now we're talking about that 7th millennial, entering into the Sabbath. You're going to ask a question?
No.
Oh, my God. Oh, you can read a question. Okay, go.
Commentary on it says the reason the Torah here mentions the number 7 is to remind us when a righteous person falls down 7 times, he will rise again and regain his composure.
So we got to pray 7 times. A minimum of 7. I've been on my knees a whole bunch. Take a lot more than 7. Anyway, I like that. Okay. Okay, go. Verse 4.
Esau ran toward him, embraced him, fell upon his neck, and kissed him. Then they wept.
Stop. This is that word Johnny was talking about. We'll check the Torah scroll here in a minute, Johnny, and see if that's on there. Vayishakehu. It's got those dots above it. And so I don't know if it's in the Torah scroll. We'll find out. That's where he kissed Esau. Now, there is a different points of views. First of all, one of them says that one of the rabbis, I don't know who, says Esau runs up and he tries to bite Jacob and all his teeth come out and it wasn't a kiss, he was trying to kill him, blah, blah, blah. But hold on now, guys. Esau and Jacob are twins. Twins have a bond that just average brothers and sisters don't have. You fight like cats and dogs, but you're still brothers and sisters. Now, I'm not saying they wouldn't kill each other because Cain and Abel were probably in the same context. I mean, and Cain definitely killed Abel. So, but I am saying sometimes I think we just want to automatically make Esau be totally bad at all times. And he is his brother. He got to love each other.
Why does it say he fell on his neck?
Fell on his neck.
Yeah. I mean, he hugged him.
Just hugged him. I don't know.
Well, in the Strong's, which, whatever, Strong's, it says that's the place that burdens are bound. So there might be something there.
Okay. I don't know.
Did you find the word he was looking for?
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah. Did you read the commentary on it?
Mm.
Pretty cool.
It says he was aroused by Yaakov. Esau was aroused by Yaakov's 7 prostrations in front of him. His compassion was aroused for him.
Compassion,
So,
yeah.
kind of what you're saying, like, you know, I mean, this is a picture of Yaakov basically like returning all the blessings he stole from him in a sense. So there is 2 ways to look at it. I mean, obviously they haven't made up because, I mean, he just in 2 minutes from now he has to turn around and be like, yeah, I'll be there to see you. I'll come visit you and your family, and he gets out of there so quick, and he never goes and sees him. So like, I don't think, like, I tend to, you know, see the rest of the story and think it sounds like what's really happening, that Esau really isn't righteous, doesn't want to restore this friendship. He's still pissed.
I think
Wow.
like I said, he's a very earthly man.
Yeah.
And God let him become wealthy too before Jacob comes back. So he's got what he wants earthly wise. He's satisfied there. But yes, I don't think he forgave his brother.
Okay, so the only rabbi that agrees with me that it was sincere was Shimon Bar Yochai, and he's one that wrote the Kabbalah. I hate that.
I knew you were Kabbalist.
He was
Well, I think there's 2 ways to look at it. I think there's one way that it should have been sincere. We should be sincerely going to our brothers and repenting before them and showing them teshuvah and even giving back blessings that we've stolen. Anything we've stolen, we should be returning it. But at the same time, I think there's another story behind it, which is the more of the real story of what was happening. But I think, so this is showing us how we should be, but there is another story of what was really going on about they did not have a returning love for each other. But
Well, I will admit, he was probably wondering if what Jacob's intentions were, because he did bring 400 with him. Okay, verse 5.
He raised his eyes and saw the women and children, and he asked, "Who are these to you?" He answered, "The children whom Elohim has graciously given your servant." Then the handmaids came forward, they and their children, and they bowed down. Leah too came forward with her children, and they bowed down. And afterwards Joseph and Rachel came forward and bowed down. And he asked, "What did you intend by the whole camp that I met?"
all right, hold on for a second. So then Esau said, "What did you intend by this company or camp which I met?" So if you look up that word, it's Mahane, and it means a camp of armed hosts. So he's asking him, what did you mean by sending 2,000 armed men to me? Scared the crap out of me. I fell off my horse 4 times. Like, what did you mean by that? And then Jacob thinking, is he talking about the men that I sent with gifts for him? You know, so he's, man, I meant it to bless you, you know? Like, so like there's 2 stories working out here at the same time. So I think that it's like, every time we're thinking about these in different ways, they're both right at once. You know, there's one point that we should be repenting and turning back, and there's another point like the war goes on. Like, I mean, like the father's still working behind the scenes, doing unknown things, and like this battle will be over for a long time from now. But there's 2 stories always being told.
Look at this. Look how old he was.
97.
At that point, he's 97 years old. He marries him at 77. He was there in Laban for 20 years. When he came out, he's 97 years old. He died at 137. We got to factor that in. So in our day in life, what would that be like? If you lived to be, say, 80, 90, you'd be what, in your 60s? 2/3 of it? Huh?
He had a pretty hard life.
Yeah. When you talk about Jacob's trouble, everybody's talking about what's the story of Laban, but his whole life was trouble. Even when he came back into the promised land, Joseph was taken from him. So Jacob's trouble was pretty much his 137 years. Okay. Verse 7.
No. 8.
You're still in 8, halfway through.
Yeah. And he asked, "What did you intend by the whole camp that I met?" He answered, "To gain favor in my Lord's eyes." Esau said, "I have plenty, my brother. Let what you have remain yours." But Yaakov said, No, I beg of you. If I have now found favor in your eyes, then accept my tribute for me. And as much as I have seen your face, which is like seeing the face of a divine being, and you were appeased by me, please accept my gift which was brought to you. And as much as Elohim has been gracious to me, and inasmuch as I have everything, he urged him, and he accepted. And he said, Travel on and let us go. I will proceed alongside you. But he said to him, My Lord knows that the children are tender, and the nursing flocks and cattle are upon me. If they will be driven hard for a single day, then all the flocks will die. Let my Lord go ahead of his servant. I will make my way at my slow pace according to the gate of the drove before me, and the gate of the children, until I come to my Lord at Seir. Then Esau said, Let me assign to you some of the people who are with me. And he said, To what purpose? Let me just have favor in my Lord's eyes. So Esau started back that day on his way toward Seir. But Yaakov journeyed to Sukkoth and built himself a house, and for his livestock he made shelters. He therefore called the name of the place Sukkoth. Yaakov arrived intact at the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan. Upon his arriving from Padan, he encamped before the city. He brought the parcel of land upon which he pitched his tent from the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 Casetas?
Yeah.
He set up an altar there and proclaimed, Elohim, the Elohim of Israel.
Comments?
I have a question. Well, sort of. I'm looking at map of Seir, and it doesn't show Seir in Israel.
Doesn't show what?
Seir in Israel.
Okay.
These maps that I'm looking at to try and identify Seir is there.
Is it the other side of Jordan?
It's not. Well, I can't tell by these maps because it's not giving me a whole. It's just giving me. So here's.
Because Seir is where Esau lived, and he had been kicked out of the land of Canaan.
Right, and that's what I'm thinking. So Seir wasn't, and so here's what I get from this particular passage. Jacob graciously declined for Esau to travel with him. Then he declined for his brother to leave guard with him. Who in their right mind does that when they're traveling? Sure, yeah, I can use extra security when I have a crowd this size. He still doesn't trust his brother.
He has no intention on going and hanging out.
He still doesn't trust his brother. And then his brother says, and then he says to his brother, I'll meet you in Seir. We're going to travel slower. I'll meet you in Seir. And according to my maps that I'm seeing, it looks like Seir's over here somewhere and the Jordan's here. And what does he do? He goes this way. He goes the opposite direction from his brother, from what I can tell on these maps. So he's still not trusting. Oh, there you go. Okay. So yeah, and so Jacob goes this way, up here, and
Well, here's the lot down here. So he goes down to Hebron to meet his father, and eventually in Beersheba. So they're not too far away.
but it still
Seir
doesn't say
is-
that Jacob ever went to see his brother in Seir.
So it said that Esau lived in Canaan almost the entire time that Yaakov was gone. And soon before this happened, all of his herdsmen started fighting with everybody around. And the Canaanites kicked him out of the land, and he was no longer allowed. That's why I said, like, those little dots are thought to be like, you stole my mother's love, you stole my birthright, my blessing, you stole Leah, my wife, you stole the land of Canaan from me. Like, everything you do, you take what is mine, and like, so they're not, on friendly terms.
I'm not seeing a brotherly reconciliation here.
Yeah.
Well, when
Now we
Abraham
should be
died,
though.
they
That's the
buried
point.
him
I think we should be.
Yeah.
I think, but
Huh?
When Abraham, or I mean not Abraham, when Isaac dies, they bury him together.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
They have no choice, can they?
yeah.
It's kind of a.
I still don't see that as I see that as I'll tolerate you, but I'm not trusting you, and we're not going to have a good relationship. Get that through your head. It just wouldn't work. The personality
see if I'm waiting word or not. So,
That's why he's willing
you
to
were
return
talking
his great
earlier
wealth to
about
him. Like, maybe this will be, we'll never see each other again because I ain't coming to hang out.
Well, and I think it did.
seven, the number seven for life and death or something.
I'm sorry?
Busy, anyway, now he's busy,
I
doesn't
saw-
have time to go visit, you know?
What was it 7 days for life, 7 days for death, or something like that? You were talking
Oh,
earlier.
mourning period is 7 days.
But I was wondering if like the bowing 7 times has got anything to do like.
Well, okay, so what we're talking about is that for every action, there's a reaction, okay? Okay, so a wedding festival, a biblical wedding, lasts 7 days. And a mourning period, when someone dies, in Judaism is called setting Shiva. Setting Shiva means that person for 7 days mourns their lost one. And so, you know, you got the positive, but you also got the negative.
Right.
So 7 days for a wedding, 7 days for a mourning period.
So why did he bow 7 times?
I don't think that has anything to do with this. I think the 7 times is the 7th millennial, starting that 1,000-year Sabbath, because that's where we are in history right now. We're about to enter that 1,000-year Sabbath. And so Elijah on Mount Carmel did the same thing. He bowed 7 times. Now Jacob bowed 7 times. Both of them got 400 coming. Elijah, you had 400 prophets of Asherah. Esau's coming with Asherah. That's who Esau is. So there's the 400. And so either way, Asherah is involved in that, which is Christianity. Not Christianity, but specifically the Christmas tree. The whole Christmas tree thing. I'm not saying all of Christianity, but Esau is Catholicism. That's where Catholicism started. And Esau did what? He took here. Catholicism took parts of all the religions and made it, because Catholicism actually means universal. So they made a universal religion out of everybody's. Oh, you want to do this? Okay, so we'll take that part from you. We got Buddhists, we'll take this part from them. And so they made a universal religion. And Protestants came out of that, and Protestants actually like a purification process, but not quite enough. It still has too much of Catholicism in it.
Yeah.
And then we come from Protestantism. That's an interesting concept. Catholics, Protestants, and Messianics. So it took the Protestants to break loose from the Catholics, and then it took the Messianics to break loose from the Protestants. It's like a growing process. And so, okay, we got to get back to our Torah portion.
What I thought was interesting,
34.
Randy, what I thought was interesting is with Esau, with this whole bowing 7 times and the whole millennial thing, well, this next chapter is about Dinah.
The Sabbath. Yep. Now you understand why I'm comparing Dinah with the Sabbath. Okay, let's read about Dinah now, chapter 34. Who's reading? Go.
That's my favorite chapter.
Okay, everybody attention.
Now Dinah, Leah's daughter, whom she bore for Jacob, went out to look at the daughters of the land. When Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the land, saw her, he took her and lay with her and raped her. But his soul clung to Dinah, Jacob's daughter, and he loved the young woman and spoke reassuringly to the young woman. So Shechem said to his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this girl for a wife." Now Jacob had heard that he had defiled his daughter, Dinah, while his sons were with his livestock in the field. So Jacob kept quiet until they came in. Meanwhile, Shechem's father Hamor went out to Jacob in order to speak with him. Jacob's sons had already come in from the field. When they heard, and the men were deeply grieved and furious because he had committed a vile deed in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, which ought never to be done. But Hamor spoke with them, saying, "My son Shechem, he's very attached to your daughter. Please give her to him for a wife. Intermarry with us. You can give your daughters to us, and you can take our daughters for yourselves. You can live with us, and the land will be open to you. Live in it, move about freely in it, and settle down in it." Shechem.
Stop. I don't know what this has to do with anything, but last night I was reading in the Mishnah, and the dowry of a virgin is 200, what we call zuzim. It takes, a zuzim is basically a shekel, it's like basically 50 shekels of silver. Now, there was something that came up this last summer when everybody's arguing what's a shekel of silver worth, blah, blah, blah. There's like two different ones. One of them is just part silver, and another one is like high dollar silver, like almost pure silver. And so it's a crazy amount. But anyways,
Yeah, shekel in Israel right now is worth like 25 cents, their little shekel, but in a shekel, according to the weight of silver, is worth like $2,400 or something. Yeah.
okay, so, but here was what was interesting. The daughter, okay, so a virgin, you give her, if you're going to marry a virgin, and it's important because virgins marry on Wednesday. And again, this is rabbinical, okay? So it don't matter, sometimes I believe Yeshua is going to prove to the Jews through their own traditions. That's why I like rabbinical stuff. So they say, the rabbis say that virgins marry on Wednesday and widows marry on Thursday. Now, I'm not sure exactly how that's going to apply because the northern kingdom is kind of like a widow in one sense. They've been divorced and blah, 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 and the whole story there. But anyways, but another thing is that the daughter of a Cohen, her fee is 400 zuzim, and we're talking about 400 here. And now we got Dinah. Now, she's not the daughter of a Cohen, but Jacob, in this sense, is like a Cohen. And so the daughter of a Cohen is 400. And we got this 400 thing going on. Now, I don't know how that plays in, but I just thought I'd share that with you because there is something there. And the funny thing about these two numbers, that's exactly what David had. He had 600 men, 200 stayed by the brook and watched everything while the 400 went to battle. Now, you can't tell me that's by chance. So that exact same theory is right there in the story of David. And I don't know how it plays out. That I can't answer. But there is something to that. And so I wanted to share that with you with Dinah.
I think there's something else in this story, too, about her. Like, we see them get to Shechem, and we already know what time of year it is. It's Sukkot, it's a feast. Everybody would have been, doing festivals and stuff, even if they weren't Israelites. It was just that time of year during harvest and feast time. There's been feasting, but she wants to go out to these worldly people and see what they're doing, see what they're dressed like, meet the girls of the land, and with all good intention to be a light unto them and teach them the teshuvah and stuff, is what all the rabbis say. But we're called to be set apart, and when you see the world partying and having their festivals, we're not supposed to go walk into the midst of that and let our guard down. And that's what she did. And she was snatched up, she got raped, she was taken, and now we're in a whole new situation where, we're supposed to be alive in the world, but not in the middle of their festivals and their ways and stuff, where they're partying and drinking and doing things in a way that we would never do it, So I think there's a lesson to be learned about how we should conduct ourselves and our business, we shouldn't be found in the bars trying to be a light to people, there's a time and place.
Okay, now, let's look at something else. So in the prayer book, one of the things we read for, I think it was for the Amidah today, was that the Sabbath is not for the uncircumcised. No uncircumcised will enjoy the Sabbath, blah, blah, blah. And here we got Leah. She has Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Dinah. The 6 sons are all masculine. That is the 6 days of the week. Dinah is feminine. All through the scriptures, in the Proverbs, in the Psalms, when it talks about the Sabbath, it's always in feminine. The Sabbath bride. And so I think what we're, with Leah having 7 children, and the last one being a daughter, I think that obviously we're talking about the Sabbath. And then what happens with Shechem? Shechem violated the Sabbath. Now there's a lot of ways of looking at that. One, Jacob makes a deal with them, which they broke the deal, and with Levi and Simeon, they broke the deal, and therefore caused them to be cursed, not cursed, but they were divided among Israel when they divided the land. But regardless, if you look at it from a spiritual aspect, violating the Sabbath is a death penalty. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but when you look at it from that context, that's exactly what he did. He violated the Sabbath. And so, but then he was circumcised. The whole nation was circumcised, but then Levi and Shimon went in and killed them all.
Not all of them, so the women and children lived, and so part of our plan worked. A lot of them did repent. They did become children of Israel, and then you see throughout other stories later that those women were married by Israelite men and became part of Israel. So the women and children became part of Israel. The men were killed off. But that, some of them did repent and become Israelites.
So that, to me, that's one of the main things about Dina. Dina is the Sabbath. And so when you understand it from that context, then we understand the consequences of the Sabbath. Now, when you go to Isaiah 56, we see that the very first thing, used to, when I started walking this way, I'd be like, Father, why don't you make it easier for everybody? Give them easier commandments, because the Sabbath is the hardest commandment actually to keep. Once you keep the Sabbath, everything else is smooth sailing. And so, but then I read in Isaiah 56, and it says clearly, for those that take hold of the Sabbath and do the things to please me. First it talks about the stranger, and then it says the exact same wording with the eunuch. And so the purpose is that once you can take hold of the Sabbath, everything else is smooth sailing. And so just what we think would be better, start off easy, he says, no, you start off this way. And so the Sabbath is the key. Once you take hold of the Sabbath, everything else is smooth sailing. And it really is. I mean, the Sabbath is the hardest thing, especially in our culture, because everything's done on Shabbat.
I think that's what's interesting. It's the only one that starts with remember. To me, that made it easy, because it's like, oh yeah, we did forget it. Like, remember the Sabbath. All the rest of them were commandments. This one was just remember. Don't forget. Like, it's something you've forgotten, so it should be an easy one. Just remember to do what you were supposed to from the beginning.
And the difference between the Sabbath in Exodus, telling of the Ten Commandments, and Deuteronomy's telling of the Ten Commandments, the main difference of the Sabbath is one is compared to the seventh day of creation, and the other one is compared to leaving Egypt. You will remember the Sabbath, in the Ten Commandments, back in Exodus. One of them, it says, and you will do this in remembrance of the seventh day of creation. The other one says, you will do this in remembrance of leaving Egypt. There is that difference, but it's only on the Sabbath. And so makes you wonder, what the purpose is. Like two different purposes, I guess. Anyway, okay, what verse are we on?
Shechem also said to her father and to her brothers, would that I find favor in your eyes. Whatever you say to me, I'll give. Set the dowry and the presents as high as you'd like, and I'll give whatever you say to me, but give me the young woman as a wife. But Jacob's sons answered Shechem and his father Hamor deceitfully as they spoke, because he had defiled their sister Dinah. They said to them, we can't do this thing. Give our sister to a man who is uncircumcised, for this is a disgrace to us. Only by this will we consent to you, if you will become like us, by circumcising every male. Then we'll give to you our daughters and take your daughters for ourselves, and live with you and become one people. But if you don't listen to us and be circumcised, we'll take our daughter and leave. So this kind of reminds me of kind of like Galatians kind of thing, or where, I don't know if it's in Galatians, really, hold on, I could back that up, but when they're saying like these people need to be circumcised before they come to synagogue, and
Yes.
Acts.
Yes.
And
the argument is no, let them come first.
Right, let them come first and then get circumcised. So I don't know why, but when I was reading this, I was seeing like a similarity between that of like,
that is a good one.
We need to get them circumcised because now they want to come to The Sabbath.
but they took hold of the Sabbath before.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're saying, okay, if you want the Sabbath, you're going to have to be circumcised.
Yeah.
So they experienced the Sabbath, and now in order to be part of the Sabbath, now I got to become circumcised.
Exactly.
So the experience first, that's a good way of applying it. I never thought about that.
It just popped in my head yesterday. I was like, whoa, wait a
Yeah.
second.
And so, okay, being in a position of leadership, I think that was the whole argument in the New Testament. I think the Jewish side was wanting to try to get these Gentiles circumcised before they came in, and the others were saying, and Paul was saying, no, you let them come in, study, and let them understand, and then they'll choose to be circumcised. Because it's not the act of circumcision. If it was, Paul's a false prophet. That's all there is to it. And Paul wasn't a false prophet.
Right.
And being in leadership, I've seen that over and over myself, several times, where men would, like Passover, they say, well, we'd like to keep Passover with you, but we're not circumcised. I'm like, we're not keeping Passover. If you were going to Israel and actually performing in a Passover, that's a different story, but we're not. We're only going through the motions. So you don't have to be circumcised to do that. Now, if you want to be circumcised, by all means, I'm not telling you not to, but I'm not telling you you have to in order to keep Passover. So it's kind of funny because just the way I said it there, people can twist that any way they want to. I never said to be circumcised, but I never said not to either, for what it's worth. Okay.
Now the words seemed good to Hamor as well as Hamor's son Shechem. So the young men did not hesitate to do it, since he delighted in Jacob's daughter. Now he was honored above everyone else in his father's house. So Hamor and his son Shechem came into the gate of their city and spoke to the men of their city, saying, these men are enjoying a peaceful relationship with us, and they are living in the land and moving about freely in it. As for the land, look, it's spread out on both sides before us. We can take their daughters to be our wives, and we can give our daughters to them. But by this did these men consent to us, to live with us and become one people. When all our males are circumcised as they are circumcised, their livestock and their possessions, won't they be ours? Only let us consent to them so that they'll live with us. Now everyone who went out of the gate of this city.
Well, there's the answer, though. They're not sincere about it.
Right.
Like, they want to do it so they can take the wealth and and
Yeah, hold on.
part of the blessing.
I disagree. I disagree. Circumcision is painful. Guys, I know.
Said, like, let's do it so we take.
I understand that, but circumcision is bad, painful. This is not something that, first of all, they respected Hamor. They had a lot of respect for Hamor because he said, and all they said is that, Hamor could have been circumcised and married Dinah, could he not? Instead, he talked to everybody in the land to be circumcised. And we can all, I don't see that myself. I'm talking about a sincere, with me, they respected Shechem. They said, you're going to do this? Okay, if you're going to do this, we respect you and we're going to do it too. Because they said he's the most honorable one among them. I'm just saying sometimes we're automatically painting everybody mischievous, trying to do it for the wrong reason, and I don't see that every time. That's just my theory. Because I know circumcision is not something you just do it and forget it. It's painful.
Well, you know how I like to try to look for things from the New Testament and the Old? Well, there's one thing that I could not find in the Old Testament for a really, really long time, and that was the beheading of righteous people. But if you've taken hold of the Sabbath and you've been circumcised, wouldn't you be a righteous person? And then they were all maimed right after that.
Yeah.
So it could be the parallel from that and the Revelation,
Could
because
be.
these people are taking hold of the Sabbath and becoming circumcised.
Actually, Shechem's taking hold of the Sabbath.
Yeah.
But they're all agreeing and willing to go through the process. And to me, I got to be honest with you, I can't imagine a whole group of people willing to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, you're talking about a whole city of men saying, okay, Shechem, brother, we love you. I mean, if we were uncircumcised, the pastor
Well,
said, "I
and
want to
that-
marry this girl."
Wouldn't that be taking hold of like a promise too? Like, because it says that those that are beheaded in that time do it for the testimony of Yeshua and keeping the commandments. Well, in this case, in this parallel of sorts, wouldn't Shechem be the like one that you have faith in that this is going to be okay?
Maybe so. I guess I see that.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What verse? 25?
24.
24.
Now everyone who went out of the gate of the city listened to Hamor and to his son Shechem, and every male was circumcised, everyone who went out the gate of his city. Then on the third day, while they were in pain, two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and came against the city undisturbed and killed every male. Hamor and his son Shechem they killed with the sword and took Dinah from Shechem's house and left. Jacob's sons came upon the slain and plundered the city because they defiled their sister. They took their flocks, their cattle, and their donkeys, those that were in the city as well as those that were in the field. All their wealth, their little children, and their wives they captured and plundered, as well as everything that was in the houses. But Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You've brought trouble on me, making a stench among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. I am but a few men. They'll gather against me and strike me. Then I'll be destroyed for my household and I." But they said, "Should he treat our sister like a prostitute?"
See, I think if Jacob was really pissed about what happened, it wouldn't be because we're not enough to defeat them. It would be because they had repented. Like they were all going to join us in our family. It would have been an amazing blessing. Look how many people would have entered Israel.
But
I think Jacob knew better, and he was saying, you know what? There's 100,000 of them behind that wall of Shechem, and they're all going to come for us now because you did this. And he's scared again. He's not trusting the
But
Father.
if you look at like Judaism today and like all of us taking a hold of the Sabbath and taking a hold of commandments,
They like to do that to us.
But
they're
how many
not
people-
happy with us right now, and they would definitely, like you said, we would be breaking their laws.
But how many people? I think this more represents the people that say they're circumcised of heart and they're not,
Right.
and you know, and they deserve death. They're not. They're outwardly trying to take in something that is
We all
spiritually.
deserve death.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you understand that there's a lot of people out there that they say they're circumcised of heart, but they don't want to keep the Torah. They don't want to keep the commandments. They don't want to keep the Sabbath. They just want the blessing. And
I
that's
just don't
what
think
these
they
people
know
want.
it.
They want
I
the
don't
blessing
think
of
they know
Yaakov
about it, yeah.
and his people.
But a lot of them don't know.
Exactly.
They don't know better.
I was 40-something years old, and it was who they are. I walked away for this. I did not know. I'm being as honest as I can be. I thought I was serving God to the best of my ability. I thought Jesus was my Savior, and He healed. I saw Him heal. People healed by Him. I did not know that I wasn't serving the true God.
Yeshua saved, Joseph saved all of Egypt. And we have to remember that. Joseph is Yeshua. Joseph saves all of Egypt, but only his brothers knew who he was. So, you know, at the very beginning, a lot of us were Torah terrorists. We beat people over the head. You have to do this. You're going to hell if you don't. No, 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 no. We want you to do it because there's a great reward for doing it. And if you want to be part of the bride, you have to do it. That's not. That's not.
And I think that's what this is saying is, if you want to partake in her, you have to be circumcised. But they were taking hold of the Sabbath, and the brothers didn't like that.
And Shimon and
Because they
Levi.
weren't doing it maybe the right way. It says they defiled her, right?
Yeah.
Shechem defiled her, so he took hold of her. But I mean, Beth always talks about how Shechem and Dinah were in love. So it's not just
Shechem was.
it's not just
I didn't say anything about Dinah being in love.
And he sinned to begin with. He should not have, but he was he fell in love with her and was making up for that. Doing right by her. Doing right by her.
Also a product of a different culture.
yeah.
So for him and his belief, what he did may not have been a sin.
Yeah.
Well, and if
So,
see a lot of like the more Hebrew root side of things, they'll do things their own way, right? And they'll try to make their own path and how to do things. Well, then there's like, you know, the lawgiver and the scepter should not depart from Judah. We're to listen to the people on the seat of Moses, you know, and so that keeps us in line of what we're supposed to do. But when you see a whole bunch of people who aren't, quote unquote, your people taking hold of your stuff, I mean, I
it's
could see why
offensive.
Judah would do what they might do. I mean, I could see why Levi and Simeon would do what they did to Shechem, you know? I don't think that Shechem was in the wrong after he made it right.
How many people have started down that road, intended to do something right, and then didn't wait for the wedding before they?
Right. Right.
And so, my point is that anyway. But they made an agreement. Now, here's another problem. David, there was a drought in the days of David because Saul started trying to kill off all the Gibeonites. The Gibeonites were the ones that were hauling water and wood for the temple. And they made an agreement with the Gibeonites. Joshua made an agreement, and then they found out they were supposed to destroy them, but they'd already made the agreement. They made an agreement right here. You can't back out of an agreement. That's why this was not right. No matter how you look at that, this was not right.
And Jacob wasn't mad at, like,
He was mad the way they went about it.
yeah.
And,
He
you know,
was like, whoa, wait a second.
oh, my boys are going to be mad too. He knew. They were out in the fields working. And so, but here's the main deal we got to learn from this. Don't make agreements. Be careful making agreements. But when you make an agreement, you stick by it.
But is this not a picture of the children of Israel entering into the land of Jerusalem? Canaan is Jerusalem. So this is a picture of that. And when you go in, all those that say they're circumcised that aren't truly circumcised of heart are going to be removed. You know, like if you're not truly a follower, like there's lots of people in Israel that they're circumcised on the 8th day of birth, but I mean they're atheists and they don't, you know, there's all kinds of wickedness that's going to have to be removed for the true people of Israel to go into the land. So it could be a picture of that.
Yeah, but you could also take this picture and say if you're not a blood descendant, then you have no part in it. That would be the scariest part for me is that.
Because you see them take all the women and children and they become part of Israel.
Okay. Verse 35. Who wants to read? Go, Patrick.
God said to Jacob, "Arise, go to Bethel and dwell there, and make an altar there to God who appeared to you when you fled from Esau, your brother." So Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, "Discard the alien gods that are in your midst, cleanse yourself and change your clothes. Then let us arise, go to Bethel. I will make there an altar to God, who answered me in my time of distress, and was with me on the road that I traveled." So they gave to Jacob all the alien gods that were in their possessions, as well as the ring that were in their ears, and Jacob buried them underneath the terebinth near Shechem.
Hey, what's going on here, Andy? What's going on here?
I'm sorry.
So, like, this is why I think it's a picture of us going back to the land of Israel before we can even truly enter into it. Jacob goes, take all of your idols, any of your foreign gods, take your gold rings out that you put in for these foreign gods, and let's go bury them under this certain type of tree, which rabbis say he learned from Shem, that was a tree that broke away spiritual strongholds. So when they buried all their idols and stuff, those spiritual strongholds were released from them. We also have a tree in our story of the Messiah coming that breaks spiritual strongholds that allow us to enter back into the land too. So that's why I think this is more of a picture of the entering back into it for us, in a sense, than them, you know, doing evil against people that live there, you know, but I don't know. But there's 3 trees about to be mentioned in the next couple paragraphs, and they all have different meanings of what's happening.
Okay.
Also, in addition to that, they were afraid. I mean, this terrible thing has happened. They've just broken, you know, they've just been, it's an honor-shame culture, and
This was probably when Jacob was like,
He saw, Laban's idols come, yeah.
I was just fixing to say that because
because she died.
here in
pretty soon
a
now.
couple paragraphs she dies. And so this is probably the point when he realized, oh my God, she's going to die.
Right, so when you've got the enemy chasing you, this is what you do. You purify yourself. You get rid of the foreign gods, and they go. And as you see in the next few verses, somebody will read on. There's the fear of them. God has put the fear of them upon all the people, so they're terrified. They don't attack them. This is a protection from the Father for them.
Yeah.
It's a mark.
Yeah, because they purified themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Verse 5. They set out and they fell a godly terror on the cities which were around them, so that they did not pursue Jacob's sons. Thus Jacob came to Luz in the land of Canaan. It is Bethel, he and all the people who were with him, and he built an altar there and called the place El Bethel, for it was there that God had been revealed to him during the flight from his brother. Deborah, the wet nurse of Rebekah, died, and she was buried below Bethel, below the plateau, and he named it Alon Bakoth.
Luz is almond tree. They came to Luz.
And God appeared to Jacob again when he came from Padan Aram, and he blessed him. Then God said to him, "Your name is Jacob. Your name shall not always be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name." Thus he called his name Israel. And God said to him, "I am El Shaddai, but fruitful and be fruitful, multiply. A nation and a congregation of nations shall descend from you, and kings shall issue from your loins. The land that I gave to Abraham and Isaac I will give to you, and to your offspring after you I will give the land." Then God ascended from upon him in the place where he had spoken with him. Jacob had set up a pillar at the place where God had spoken with him, a pillar of stone. And he poured a libation upon it and poured oil upon it. Then Jacob called the name of the place where God had spoken with him Bethel. They journeyed from Bethel, and there was still a stretch of land to go to Ephrath. When Rachel went into labor and had difficulty in her childbirth, and it was when she had difficulty in her labor that the midwife said to her, "Have no fear, for this one too is a son for you." And it came to pass, as her soul was departing, for she died, that she called his name Benoi, but his father called him Benjamin. Thus Rachel died and was buried on the road to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. Jacob set up a monument over her grave, and the monument of Rachel's grave until today. Israel journeyed on, and he pitched his tent beyond Migdal Eder, and it came to pass, while Israel dwelt in the land, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard. The sons of Jacob were 12, the sons of Leah, Jacob's firstborn, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, the son of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin, the sons of Bilhah, maidservant of Rachel, Dan and Naphtali, the son of Zilpah, maidservant of Leah, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Padan Aram. Leah and Gad and Asher. Jacob came to Isaac his father at Mamre, Kirath Arba, the Hebron, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac sojourned. Isaac's days were 180 years, and Isaac expired and died, and he was gathered to his people, old and fulfilled of days. His sons Esau and Jacob buried him.
Okay, so Bethlehem, just south of the temple, probably 3 miles, 3 to 4 miles. It's just right there. You can see it. It's like going from Rushville to Pottsville. And the land in between, if I'm not mistaken, is that not Migdal Eder, Beth? Migdal Eder was actually the land between the temple, and Migdal Eder is where they raised the temple sacrifices. And that would have been where Yeshua was born, because Migdal Eder was run by the Levim, the Levim for the sacrificial system. And since Yeshua was a sacrifice for the nation, it's interesting that that's where he was probably born at, right there in one of those shepherds' little things they built for the animals. So,
Random thought. Rachel died on the way to Bethlehem. She was in labor. She was going to have a baby, right? Well, Mary was also about to give birth, but made it to Bethlehem, which is interesting. It's just,
I'm sure there's a pattern there if you really want to study it out, because both of them are very important.
Well, it's important because you had to have the prophecy fulfilled of Rachel crying for her children in Bethlehem. I mean, that's a very important part of it right there. You know, Mary heard that
Now, wait a minute.
and said,
Oh, getting old. Okay, so where is Judah is south, right? And Benjamin is Jerusalem is the temple itself is split between Judah and Benjamin. Benjamin was born in Judah, though. Bethlehem is in Judah. And so Benjamin was literally born in Judah, but his tribal inheritance is just a few miles north of where he was born at. And the temple is split between the altar, I think, is in. The rabbis say that the altar is split between the altar and the temple itself, right down the center. One side is Benjamin, one side is Judah. But Benjamin was born in Judah, and Benjamin and Judah become the southern kingdom. That's cool. Never thought about that. Okay. Chapter, any questions?
Benjamin kind of sits on top of Judah. Like all this purple is Judah and Benjamin's right here.
right here.
Right through Jerusalem. Yep. But
Jerusalem kind of straddles.
all of this land down here is not near as prosperous as this land down here. So I need a lot more of it. And Judah was probably quite a bit bigger than Benjamin at that point. Okay.
Well, Judah was a lot older than Benjamin, too. Judah was a lot older than Benjamin, too.
Well, I'm talking about
I
the
know.
tribe size.
I know.
Okay. Chapter 36. And these are the descendants of Esau. He is Edom. Esau had taken his wives from one of the Canaanite women, Adah, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Oholibah, daughter of Anah, daughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Basmath, the daughter of Ishmael, sister of Nebaioth. Now, count these names. This is cool. Adah bore to Esau Eliphaz. Basmath bore Ruel, and Oholibah bore Yehush, Yalam, and Korah. Okay, these are Esau's sons who were born to him in the land of Canaan. Esau took his wives, his daughters, his sons, his daughters, and all the members of his household, all of his livestock, and all the animals, and all the wealth he had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to a land because of his brother Jacob. For their wealth was too abundant for them to dwell together in the land of their sojourning, so they could not support them because of the livestock. So Esau settled on Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. These are the descendants of Esau, ancestor of Edom on Mount Seir. They are the sons of Eliphaz were Timon, Omar, Zepho, Gitam, and Kenaz. Timor, Omar, Zepho, Gitam, Kenaz. And Timnah was the concubine of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, and she bore Amalek to Esau. These are the children of Adah, Esau's wives. These are the sons of Ruel, Nathan, Zerah, Shammah, and Mizah. These were the children of Basmath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Oholibah, the daughter of Anah, daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. She bore to Esau Jehush, Yalam, and Korah. So those two wives, one had 4 and one had 3. Now watch this. These are the chiefs of the children of Esau, the descendants of Esau's firstborn, Eliphaz, Chief Timon, Chief Omar, Chief Zepho, Chief Kenaz. There's 4. Chief Korah, Chief Gatam, and Chief Amalek. There's 3. The only thing that separates them, 4 in one verse and 3 in the other verse. And then the same pattern goes down here at the bottom. But Esau, one of his wives had 4, and the other one had 3. Hold on. And these are the descendants of Ruel, Esau's son. Chief Nahath, Chief Zerah, Chief Shammah, Chief Mizah. These are the chiefs of Ruel, the land of Edom. These are the descendants of Basmath, Esau's wife. And these are the descendants of Holabath, Esau's wife. Chief Yehush, Chief Yalam, Chief Korah. So we have 4 and 3. And these are the chiefs of Holam, daughter of Enai's wife. These are the children of Esau, and their chiefs, and he is Edom. And the sons of Seir, the Horite, were settled in the land. Lothan, Shabal, Zibeon, and Anna. Dishon, Ezer, and Dishon. These are the chiefs of the Horite, the descendants of Seir in the land of Edom. The sons of Lothan were Hori, Heman. Lothan's sister was Timnah. These are the sons of Shabal, Alavam, Manahath, Ebal, Shephal, and Onam. These are the sons of Zibeon, Ai, and Anah. These are the sons of Anah. Now this is funny. This is the same Anah who discovered the mules in the desert while he was pasturing the donkeys of Zibeon, his father. Now why does it say that? It's describing this Anah, this same Anah who discovered the mules in the desert while he was pasturing the donkeys of Zibeon, his father. Now, hold that thought, I'm going to get back to it. And these are the children of Anah, Dishon, Aholabah, daughter of Anan. These are the sons of Dishon, Hemdan, Eshbon, and Ithan, and Kiran. These are the sons of Dishon, Uz, and Anan. These are the chiefs of the Horite, Chief Lothan, Chief Shabal, Chief Zibeon, Chief Anah, Chief Dishon, Chief Ezer, and Chief Dishon. These are the chiefs of the Horites according to their chiefs in the land of Sinir. Okay, who discovered the mules in the deserts. Anah crossbred a donkey with a mare, and the result was a mule. That's forbidden. But watch this. Anah himself was illegitimate, for in verse 20, he's called Zibeon's brother, and here he's called Zibeon's son, indicating that Zibeon committed incest with his own mother. Thus the illegitimate Anan introduced the world a tainted animal which was born of an illicit breeding. I thought, that is interesting. Why talk about these? This is the guy that found these mules. Mules they're sterile. Mules are, you breed donkeys and cat and horses and you get a mule, which is illegitimate. But it would come from a guy that was illegitimate. So it makes you wonder. Anyway. That was kind of funny. Oh, so 7 in Scripture is usually divided 5 and 2, but here it's divided 4 and 3. But these are not righteous. This is outside the temple area. So it's just like in the land, if it's talking about the temple or the first fruits, anything that's holy is divided 5 and 2. But if it's not holy, if it's outside the land, it's divided 4 and 3. Just like we have 2 different calendars. We have a biblical calendar and a secular calendar. The biblical starting at Aviv and the secular starting at Tishri. I'm done. Turn out the lights. The party's over.